In this session, we are going to focus on Python for loops. A for loop allows us to cycle through a sequence. The sequence can be numbers, letters, strings, it can be a lot of things. The good part about a for loop is how we can automate a repetitive function. In our IDE, we create a for loop by writing for. At this point, we need to define a temporary variable. It's temporary because the variable represents a different value each time our program iterates this for loop. Letter is the variable. N. Now we need to mention the sequence or collection. Let's use a string with Python tutorials. This code line states for each letter in Python tutorials, we are going to take some kind of action. The action we are going to take is print letter. Run, and we see Python tutorials with each letter on a separate line. That's how for loops work. The variable holds one letter at a time. The first iteration was P, and the second iteration was Y. Now, let's use a list. The list can be some names like Jane, Joe, John. Change letter to name. So the code says for each name in names, this will print each name. We see Jane, Joe, and John in the console. For numbers, our sequence can be 1, 2, 3. Run, and we see 1, 2, 3 in the console. However, the best way to iterate a group of numbers is to use the range function. Now, I'm going to change for name to for number and print number. The range function is more efficient because we may have a scenario that have way more than 3 numbers, like 100. When I hover range, the description shows return an object that produces a sequence of integers from start inclusive to stop exclusive. That means the range function would print up to 100, so it would not include 100. Run, and we see 99 as the stopping point with 0 as the start point. So we see 0 all the way to 99. Recall how the description for range showed is start inclusive. We can add a number like 50 and a comma to start our sequence. Run, and now we see 50 at the starting point all the way to 99. There's one more feature I want to show you with the range function. It can also accept number of steps. So the step tells the compiler what number to increment and decrement. For example, if I write to increment or decrement, if I write 10 after 100, then the for loop will increment by 10. Run, and we see 50, 60, 70, 80, 90. Do you know what the console will show if we count backwards by 10? First, we have to change 50 to 100. So our counter starts at 100, then stop at 50. Add a negative, so it executes backwards. We see 100, 90, 80, 70, and 60. It does not include 50 because 50 is exclusive. That's it for Python for loops. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next session. Cool. In this session, let's take a look at while loop. The purpose of a Python while loop is to execute a block of code multiple times. We can add some lines of code and it will loop through the code until a particular condition is false. Therefore, our program will execute over and over again while the condition is true. In the IDE, let's start with the variable called number and assign it to 1. The while loop has 4 parts. It has the while keyword, a condition, a colon, then the while clause. The while keyword is followed by a condition. From previous sessions, we know a condition evaluates to true or false. Our while clause, which is a block of code, will execute while the condition is true. Let me erase the condition, then write a condition like number less than or equal to 5. The next line begins our while clause. Everything indented below the while keyword, condition, and colon is considered the while clause. Print number. Print number will execute while number is less than or equal to 5. The condition determines how many times the variable number shows up in our console. However, we must be careful and have no infinite loop in our program. An infinite loop is a loop that always evaluates to true. Run, and we have an infinite loop that only shows 1 in the console. If I stop the program, we see process finished with exit code -1. The value started at 1, but it never incremented to 2. We increment by writing number equals number plus 1. This statement takes the value of number, then add 1 to the number. The shorthand is to have number plus equals 1, and it will automatically add 1 to the number. Let's add one more print statement to show when the while loop is complete. Now I'm going to run, and this time we see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. While loop is complete. Here is the process. Number is initialized to 1. Next is to check the condition. Is 1 less than or equal to 5? Yes. So the condition is true. Therefore, the code says while 1 is less than or equal to 5, print number, then increment number by 1. After incrementing by 1, the number is now 2. At this point, the program jumps back to the while keyword and the condition. Is 2 less than or equal to 5? Yes. So while 2 is less than or equal to 5, print the number, then increment the number. This process will continue until the number is 6. Now, when it increments to 6, the while loop is complete because the condition is false. 6 is not less than 5 and 6 is not equal to 5. If number is initialized to 6, then the condition starts with the false value. As a result, the block of code will be skipped and never execute. Run, and the console only shows while loop is complete. That's it for the while loop in Python. Thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next session.